One night in 1973, the two young McDaniel children of Enfield, Illinois, claimed to see a weird creature lurking in their yard and trying to get in the house. But Father Henry McDaniel chalked their creepy story up to the active imagination of childhood. However, he changed his mind later that night. After being awoken by strange scratching sounds, McDaniel grabbed a gun and a flashlight and peered outside his front door. There, between two rose bushes, he saw a creature that was almost like a human body, just as his kids had described.
It had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights.
He recounted to a reporter. McDaniel said he fired 4 shots and was sure he hit the creature at least once, causing it to make a hiss much like a wildcat's before it ran off toward a railway embankment. McDaniel was stunned when he saw the monstrous beast jump 80 feet in 3 jumps before quickly running out of sight. The police found scratches on the door screen as well as footprints in the dirt near McDaniel's home that looked dog-like with 6 toe pads, yet no clues pointed to an unusual creature. McDaniel's sighting made the Reading Eagle, but it was clear most people didn't believe it was true. It didn't help that a 10-year-old neighbor faked his own eyewitness account of the beast, only to later admit that his testimony was a prank. Against the McDaniels, McDaniel reported 2 more sightings of the alleged beast to local cops, but he said they eventually threatened him with jail time because nobody believed what he saw had been real. But McDaniel was adamant and stood behind his scary true story.
They will find more than one, and they won't be from this planet. I can tell you that.
McDaniel said in an interview after McDaniel's public testimony about the Enfield monster, other eyewitness claims began to surface. Monster hunters swarmed the town, and at least 5 men were arrested after firing shots in the area and claiming to have photographed the creature. To this day, no explanation has been uncovered for this small town creepy story. At the height of the Cold War, when radio was still a top medium for disseminating news and information, many listeners accidentally stumbled into some rather unnerving programming. These creepy broadcasts would typically begin with a strange melody or several beeps and were followed by the voice of a woman or child reciting seemingly random numbers. These transmissions played routinely and lasted for several minutes on frequencies that listeners dubbed number stations. The discovery of these strange number stations quickly gained attention among those who were unfortunate to find themselves listening to these mysterious broadcasts. The phenomenon also spawned a fringe group of radio listeners dedicated to solving the mystery of who was sending these broadcasts and why. Each number station they discovered was given a name depending on the nature of its broadcast. Among the most well-known were the Nancy Adams Susan, the Gong Station, and the Lincolnshire Poacher. They were all uniquely bizarre in their own way, spurring a number of creepy stories about who could possibly be behind them. It wasn't until the 1980s that amateur sleuths tracking these number stations hypothesized that the mysterious broadcasts were actually coded messages used in espionage operations across the globe. The idea has been supported by figures like Rupert Allison, an author who specializes in espionage and writes under the pen name Nigel West. Nobody has found a more convenient and expedient way of communicating with an agent, Allison said. Their sole purpose is for intelligence agencies to communicate with their agents in denied areas of territory where it is difficult to use a consensual form of communications. Remarkably, these short waves of alleged coded messages can still be found on the radio today, so long as one is diligent enough to search for them. Espionage tactics may seem like the most plausible explanation for these ghostly signals, but the true intent of some of these number stations have never been cracked. One station known as the Buzzer has been sending out mysterious broadcasts. Since the Cold War, it features 2 buzzies at the top of every hour, followed by a monotonous drone between every 21st and 34th minute during daylight hours. A voice follows, reading a string of numbers, words, or names in Russian like Anna, Nikolai, Ivan, Tatiana, Roman. It was initially believed that the broadcast was set up by Soviet authorities, but after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the strange radio broadcast only became more active. To this day, nobody knows who started it, what it's about, or why it continues. The true scary story of the number stations goes on. In 2007, ABC News reported on a series of ominously precise grave threats made to different families via cell phones. The families claimed that the calls, which threatened to slay their children, pets, and grandparents, came in any time at night. According to one family, the callers seemed to know when the kids left for school and when they were home alone. Families also received voicemails with recordings of their private conversations. According to the victims, the caller was aware of their activities and what they were wearing. The family of Courtney Quickendall, 16, said that her cell phone started sending text messages to her friends by itself in February, which is when the family's problems began. The Quickendall family also reported a caller having a scratchy voice and threatening to slice their throats,
I'm gonna kill you.
which continued for months. Another victim reported receiving a call from an unknown caller saying they preferred lemons when the woman was slicing limes in her kitchen. The police couldn't find the perpetrators. It is still an unresolved mystery.
In 1946 in Texarkana, 4 horrifying crimes occurred in less than 3 months. On the Texas side of the town, 3 violent incidents targeted young people parked in lovers' lanes. The 4th, on the Arkansas side, was the shooting of an elderly couple in their remote farmstead. After the shooting spree, 5 individuals were lethally shot and 3 suffered critical injuries. The cops received very little information from the distraught survivors. The homicides shook the community to its grounds. While husbands were away on business trips, women packed up their belongings, took their kids, and checked into the hotel. Others devised security systems in the style of Rube Goldberg by connecting pots and pans to wire laid throughout their property. Normally unarmed citizens placed pallets on the floor so their kids could lie next to them as they slept with loaded pistols. Texarkana Gazette dubbed the assailant the Phantom Killer. Several books about the case have been written, and a highly fictionalized film called The Town That Dreaded Sundown was made in 1976.
Samuel P. Fuller, age 24. Linda Mae Jenkins, age 19. Brutally attacked March 3, 1946. Howard W. Turner, 29. Emma Lou Cook, 17. Bodies discovered in a wooded area on March 24th. Roy Allen, 17. Peggy Loomis, 15. Both found dead April 14th in Spring Lake Park. Floyd Reed, age 34. Murdered in his home on May 3rd. Mrs. Reed shot twice, but survived. This man's identity is unknown. He was believed to be between 30 and 40 years old. He wore a white hood and was known only as the Phantom Killer.
In 2014, a remake of the original movie was released. The Texas Department of Public Safety once referred to Texarkana's serial killings as the #1 unsolved murder case in Texas history.
Thanks for watching the video. See you next time and have a great day.